Welcome back to Conscious Consumption. If you are new here, welcome. The episodes for Conscious Consumption on Awakening Airwaves are released every third Friday of the month. If you are looking to listen to more conscious consumption episodes, I believe there's like 7 already. So if you're looking to listen to more, you could either go through and locate them on whatever platform you're listening to on, whether it's Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple, or you could go to YouTube and there's an actual playlist that you could go through and listen to all the episodes back to back if you want to binge listen. So look forward to doing that. Today's episode is going to be all about the year 2026, but more specifically, not just the energy around 2026, but more specifically, the energy that we can invite in, the self-care that we can invite in, and how to care for ourselves during this season, during this year, and forward. So, I want to start off by sharing a little bit about the beginning of the year and what that means for some of us. Um, Growing up, some of you may have heard of New Year's resolutions. I'm sure many of you have. It's something that comes up a lot around this calendar year, around January time of 2026 in particular for this year. But, every year when you reach that January point, people start talking about New Year's resolutions. They start talking about, new goal setting. I know growing up for me, I always heard, setting 3 New Year's resolutions, which is like, it puts a lot of pressure. So I wanted to talk a little bit about goal setting in particular and what that can mean and not making it some big, huge, grand gesture. But then also, how could we do it effectively? How could we support ourselves during this time and during the goal setting process? And how can we move with the cycles of things and with the energy around what we're in currently? We're also going to talk about planners. Before you go, oh, I'm done, just hang in there because I promise these planners that I'm going to share with you guys today are not like any planners that you've worked with before. If you're used to just a regular day planner, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that's fun and spunky and that will get you excited to write in, and not for your task manager, but to actually be something that's a supportive tool for you and your energy and your spiritual journey, your magical journey, whatever it is. So we're going to be going through that as well. So as we kind of talk about this new year, new cycle, and renewed you, I want to first start off about sharing a little bit about the numerology around this year. So if you do not know anything about numerology, numerology is where there are cycles of 9, and you have certain numbers that carry a particular frequency and energy around them, with certain meaningful things that follow that, the energy of that number and that cycle. Now, we have 9-year cycles that we all experience. And for 2026, if we were to look at what numerology reference number this is, you do that by calculating 2 from the 2026 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6. You then get 1. And so we are in well, actually, you get 10, but it reduces down to 1. But, anyways, it's all about beginnings, creation, opportunity for us as a collective, alignment. It's all about looking at the identity, looking at our sense of experiencing in the world. And so with that, if we're at a 1 and it goes in 9-year cycles, what do you think last year was? It was a 9-year cycle. It was a 9. It was all about the endings, which is kind of perfect because Chinese astrology, we have the year of the snake, which we're currently in, I believe, until like February 17th. And then I think it changes to like the fire horse. But the year of the snake was all about that shedding of the skin. We might have experienced this all in different ways. I know that I certainly had my own shedding of the skin that I was experiencing in my own personal life. And so it shows up differently for everyone with how we were experiencing that energy of the collective year, numerology year, but then also how we were experiencing it in our own personal life with our personal numbers. So I want to share a little bit about that. So, for our personal numbers, we look at taking our birth month and our day, the numerical birth month. So, if you're born in January, that is the very start of the calendar year, right? So, that's going to represent a one. If it was June, then it would represent the sixth month, so six. But let's say that your birthday is January 2nd and we're in the year 2026. So if you're trying to figure out where you're at in your personal year cycle, you're going to take January, which is 1, plus 2, plus 2, plus 0, plus 2, plus 6, and then that's going to be 4. So you're in a global year 1 cycle, but your personal year is going to be 4. You have the energy to start the cycle of your next 9 years, but also that energy of 4, which is all about consistency, dependability, focus, foundation, productivity. So it could be a very supportive time for you in your projects and new adventures. I do want to also mention too about the year one and just collectively, but then also as experiencing it. I like to always think of like when I think of beginnings and I think of year one, I always think of like the reference of like gardening and planting the seed. So when you look at what you're wanting to bring into fruition, what you are wanting to invite in for energy, what you are wanting to, have in your life, you don't just write it on paper. You don't just set the goal. You don't just, put it out there into the universe and then leave it alone. Like it takes some work from our part too, right? So I think of it as gardening. You have this seed. The seed represents what you're wanting to bring in, right? What you're wanting to have flourish. Well, you can't just put that seed in the dirt, walk away, and then never come back to it because it won't grow. It's going to take some of your energy. It's going to take some of you nourishing the seed, right? Giving it some food, giving it some water, nourishing it, having it then grow and feeding yourself into it. So it does take some steps. It's not just setting the goal and then going, okay, universe, take it, take the wheel. Like it takes some work on your behalf as well. But going back to how we could have this work for us when we are looking at any sort of goals, I want all of us that are listening today to think of this more in terms of our own unique goals, our own soul calling, our own purpose, our own drive on a soulful level, what's pulling at our heartstrings, rather than the materialistic things of, oh, I want a new car, or, I'm wanting to invite in this new job or whatever, which those things are all wonderful too. But for this year, really kind of focusing on your own identity and the world and how you are moving through life, where you're at now, what you want to claim, where you want to be, how you're feeling about your relationships right now, how you are feeling about the relationships that you want to invite in. And these are all things to kind of contemplate and take the time to really like explore. So, wonderful time to journal. I have some ideas on this. So, I was going to say, and those that don't like journaling, you could totally just sit in meditation. You could go out for a hike. You could spend some time in nature and just, think about these things, maybe write it down and then take it into nature with you, go on a hike and just kind of listen to the birds and listen to the wind and just, explore like what comes up while you're spending time out in nature. For those that like to journal, looking at those questions that we could ask ourselves, who are you right now? Where do you want to be? And, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as far as how you show up in the world. When you sit in silence and you have that time with yourself, exploring where do you feel that tug on your heart? Where do you feel, that like that drive to go in a direction? If you feel like you don't have a purpose right now, maybe looking at that and, if you feel like you're on that hamster wheel, what lights you up inside? Exploring that because these are the things that are really going to help drive you through life and help you feel lit up inside. These are the things that are going to really set your soul on fire, but also help you with your connection with others and help inspire others as well. The other thing is with this, just when you are exploring this, becoming very, very clear on what it is. So when you take your time to journal, when you take your time to meditate or hike or however you're doing this, really taking the time to be very clear on how you want the information to come in. Excuse me, not how you want it to come in, but what you're wanting to bring into your life, how you're wanting to show up and everything. Being clear on those dreams, being clear on those things that maybe have been living dormant inside that are ready to like come out. Because this one year, this year one that we're in for 2026 is the beginning of this next 9-year cycle collectively, but it's also, we're going to be feeling that energy of that new beginning within us as well, along with our personal year, whatever that is too, of how it's showing up for you. And by the way, like whatever your personal year is, I gave the example of personal year 4, but you could calculate your personal year and then look it up. There's lots of online references for doing that. This is also a good time to reflect on your energy and how much you're putting out into the world, maybe areas where you need to call your energy back. Are there any areas where you feel like maybe you're leaking energy? Maybe you're giving too much in a relationship. Maybe there's times that you're overcommitting to things and you need to really pump the brakes on that, or maybe take the time to process. And I'm speaking from experience on this, but stepping into being okay with telling others that you need time to either process if you're in a conversation with someone, or if you need time to answer. So you're not jumping in on a yes or a no, or, committing to something or whatever, but giving yourself the time to take it in and decide if that's really good for you, if it's really supportive for you and what you're needing and what you're wanting. And I'll be honest, this is not going to be a popular choice, guys. Like, people are not going to like it when you start setting boundaries like this and you're like, you know what, I need some time to think about it. Like, people don't like that. But it's going to be what's going to be best for you and supportive for you, so that you're not backing yourself into a corner, overcommitting on things, or maybe so you're not like I said, giving too much of your energy out into the world. And then the other thing is too, just as an example as well, is, speaking of the, leaking energy and everything, like if you have those friends or family members that maybe you need to set boundaries with, where maybe you have somebody in your life that when you see or they call you, you're just like, it's coming because they're going to dump on you. And then it becomes a thing where you feel like afterwards you get off the phone and you feel like some of your energy's been siphoned, like they just like drained you. So setting the boundaries there as well. But whatever it is, just recognizing that your energy is a valuable gift, and to really honor your energy this season, this year, honor your time, and be sure that you're committing to things that are in alignment with you and how you're feeling, and not jumping into things where you feel that dis-ease with, whatever you're committing to. This is also going to be what's going to help support you in the direction that you're wanting to move and flow into. So for goal setting, taking whatever it is that you're wanting to invite in, and I use the term goal, but whatever it is, But taking whatever that is and then kind of breaking it off into smaller chunks, things that are manageable for habits. And I always think of like micro habits. Like we're not looking for some huge grand thing because we won't commit to it. We won't stick to it. It's going to feel too much like a shock to our system and our habits and everything else. And it's going to throw us out of whack and we're going to be like, "Meh," and we're not going to want to stick to it. So just taking whatever it is that you're wanting to do, how you're wanting to show up, whatever you're wanting to invite in, and taking that and then taking like small little nibbles off of it. You know what I mean? Like I like to visualize because I'm a visual person. So if it's helpful for you, I like to kind of visualize like are they the word? Yeah, like the word table charts where you have, or like a family tree, you have like whatever it is on top, that one thing, and then the little branches that come off, and then break it off into smaller goals. And then from that, then even smaller goals, and then so on. And then that way you start at the bottom and you just kind of pick away, just slowly making little tiny changes to implement throughout your day so it doesn't feel like such a stretch. So it doesn't feel like, this big, huge thing that you're having to totally alter your day to day. So I did talk about the energy piece, and then exploring to where we might be leaking energy or where our energy might be getting drained or where it might need to get called back. Um, this is a time that individually we might be feeling less of a tolerance for what's draining us. And that could also show up as not just relationships, but it could be in that job, it could be in that environment where you feel like you're on the hamster wheel and you feel like you're just itching to get off. It could feel like you're just going through the motions. It could, I mean, there's so many ways that this could show up, but just honoring how you see and feel through those moments and what you could do to make those changes to bring some happiness to yourself and really light your soul up. A desire for balance is something else that you might be feeling as you go through this year. A pull towards something new, maybe creative, spiritually or professionally. And some prompts that you could do is look at what part of you is ready to lead. Where am I being asked to trust myself? So, where are you being asked to trust yourself more deeply? What feels like a true beginning for you? And again, just looking at what's going to be the most aligned for you and not feel like forced momentum. Goodness, I'm having a hard time talking today. The collective energy, year one is going to feel a little bit more like a reset. I feel like last year is so bumpy, and honestly, like the start of this year too, with some stuff has been, globally what we're seeing. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world that could be difficult to see and experience and think about. But I do believe that we're going to be going through a large shift here as well. We might see this show up as new systems being created. We're already starting to see some changes being made in different areas. I definitely think there's one on here that I wrote down that as far as value-driven businesses and communities, and I want to speak to this for a minute because like being authentic in your business, especially spiritual businesses, is huge. And I think that there's a huge desire from people to have this on any level, no matter what kind of business it is that you are going to and going for service or, whatever it is. But especially with the spiritual community, I feel like there's that much more to where you really need to be sure that you're representing yourself well when you have a spiritual business, and just being with an integrity of, yourself and others as far as how you're carrying yourself, how you're operating your business. And this is kind of a hot button for me, just because early on I experienced a lot of things that were just, people in the spiritual community that, had a certain persona, had a certain look to them, dressed in an all white, having a soft voice and everything else, and just not representing themselves well and just feeling like I was bamboozled a couple times. And the reason I bring this up is because I think right now we're really feeling that desire for people being authentic, people being real. There's been so much of this, like, gosh, I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like even on like social media, we always see things so polished. We always see things so like filtered, just everything. Even with the media and the news, how stuff is fed to us. And I think that people are really craving like just realness, people being authentic with who they are, but then also the businesses and the business side of things. Like we want that. And so this also is with how we show up in our lives, in our own businesses, even if we're working for somebody else, how we show up, how we are communicating with those other people, how we are having this piece of just being real, you know? So looking at living differently and with that integrity piece, like I talked about. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the self care piece for the year and just how we could really support ourselves through this time. And just every day, when we talk about self care, I think that a lot of times people think, I mean, honestly, like when I think of self care, it's much different now than when I used to think about self care and what that meant. But self care, a lot of people will automatically go to maybe the physical piece. They'll be like, oh, like getting your, hair done or, getting a massage or, something like that. Or some people might be like, oh, going and getting energy work done, getting Reiki. But I'm talking about self care on all levels, all layers of ourselves. So, right now, with coming into alignment with ourselves, trying to really work towards what feels real to us, how we could show up as a real form of ourself and our soul expression in the world, taking care of ourselves and really providing ourselves the care through this and all layers of ourselves. So, on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, energetic level. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, as far as physical care, and physical self care, I want to share some tips. Now, these are just ideas, they're just tips that I want to share. It doesn't mean that you have to do any of them or all of them or anything, just for you to kind of explore and see if there's one that when you hear it, you kind of feel like, oh, maybe that's something that I could incorporate in my day, or maybe it's something that, leads you in another direction. You follow those little breadcrumbs and that helps you in another area. So these are just some tips and ideas, okay? So again, our bodies, I want to mention the physical part because I feel like there's parts of the physical care that sometimes we neglect. And I mentioned like the massages or, that kind of thing. And I think that's an easy one for not necessarily for people to spend money on or like go and do, but just one that comes to mind, right? But some areas that maybe we don't think about the physical care is our movement piece or our internal cleansing or external cleansing. What does that look like? Not just, taking a shower or bath, but how can we do it in a ritual form? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So as far as breaking this all down for our physical body, because this is our vessel that we're living in, guys, as much as we could do the spiritual work all day long, and that's a lot of fun. If we're not taking care of our physical body, that's not going to help us. We have to live in this, what my teacher used to call a meat suit. I always thought that was hilarious. I love that. And she'd be like, oh, in your meat suit. But, anyways, we have to live in these things, right? And it has to carry us around. So we have to take care of our bodies. We can't just work on all the fun stuff like the spiritual and energetic work, but actually, take care of our physical bodies too. So I had shared a little bit in the autumn equinox podcast episode about cleansing your home. This is going to be similar in the sense that we want to cleanse our bodies on an internal level and physical level. And I want to share some ideas and some ways that we could potentially do that, depending on, where we're feeling like it might be helpful or not. So, internally, I just want to share there are various detoxes that we could do for ourselves and for our bodies. A lot of people, even if you think that you're a person that like eats clean, it's good to still go through periodic detoxes. There are very gentle oral detox programs that you could do. And if you could afford to do a naturopath doctor, that is wonderful. You could go that route. By the way, these are all just ideas, tips, tricks, things I'm sharing. See a medical professional. I am not a medical professional. I'm just giving some ideas here. But anyway, so going back to the internal oral detox programs that are out there, you could see a naturopath doctor. That is a great starting point. They are very costly. So if you are looking for something more cost effective, you could actually go down that rabbit hole and do the research on your own. You could also look at other options out there. There is Daily Om, and that's OM. They have, you know how they have like programs and stuff that you could buy little class course things that are like you pay by donation. So like I think like it recommends $22 and then $33 and then like $55 or something or 44. I can't remember what. But anyways, you could essentially buy like a detox program from that. And the reason I mention that is because I actually purchased one and I was actually pleasantly surprised with it. But they have a triple detox program that's on there that focuses on gentle cleansing that supports the body against mold, parasites, and heavy metals. The instructor is a registered holistic nutritionalist, and she does a really great job at breaking it down, helping you understand why it's important, how it could show up in your body, different things, how we could cleanse ourselves, the importance of opening up certain canals and channels before we go through cleansing, how to do it in a gentle way that's supportive to the body so it doesn't shock the system. So she really does a great job at like explaining all these things. So that is one that I wanted to share. The other thing that you could do is, like I said, look into different products that are out there. There's many people that have different herbal products that they sell, and you could do like, different cleanses where they have the different tinctures and whatnot. There's one in particular I want to mention. Her name's Dr. Green, and I am only speaking from experience on this with my child. But I found her products to be extremely beneficial for our little family. I have a younger one that has some skin allergies and food allergies and sensitivities. And her products have been a huge hit in our home. It helped clear my daughter's eczema like almost immediately. Like it helped her with a lot of other symptom things that we were experiencing with her. And so I really like her products, and her name's Dr. Green. And you could like go to her website and check out her stuff, and periodically she'll have like discounts that she sends to the phone or whatever. But that's just an idea. But check out the different people that are out there, and you could research them and kind of look at that. But you could do a gentle oral cleanse. You could also do it on your own, like I said, by, looking into these different things. You'd be surprised at what it means to do a gentle oral cleanse if you're doing it on your own. I mean, a lot of it is just whole foods that we could eat and then others that we eliminate from our diet in a particular order that helps us kind of move things along, pass things through, depending on what you're wanting to do for a detox, though, and depending on what your goals are, because certain things would require, binders like charcoal binders and that kind of thing. But those are some ideas. The other thing is elimination of products or things that that are not conducive for your environment, i.e., your body environment, your internal environment, right? That aren't supportive to you. You could also minimize things so it doesn't have to be like a huge, change to your system. If you're someone that maybe, we all have different bodies, But if you're someone that is a little more sensitive to caffeine and you know caffeine is not helpful and supportive for you and your body type, maybe that means minimizing the caffeine. Maybe that means switching to decaf. Maybe that means doing half a shot of espresso instead of a whole shot. There's different things that we could do. Cutting down on sugar, cutting down on dairy, just making sure that it's a manageable goal, a small tweak that you could stick by and that's supportive for you, where it will help you feel like you're kind of cleansing your body internally. On an external level, I wanted to talk a little bit about cleansing because I think we automatically have this picture in our head sometimes of like these gorgeous, beautiful baths, filled with flowers and everything for, a ritual bath or whatever, which are amazing. And I know we all know how to shower and know how to bathe, right? But looking at a way that we could do this in a mindful way. So really choosing maybe a night a week or a day a week or more, whatever you could commit to. But taking the time to really cleanse and nourish your skin. And you could do dry brushing. And that's like an Ayurvedic thing that you could even like look online. You could purchase the brushes just about everywhere and look at the technique of how to do it. But there's dry brushing. You could even do get some oil and do a massage on your skin once you get out of the shower or bath. You can make your own homemade body scrub. I don't know how many of you guys like to make stuff out there. I make a lot of my own stuff. I make my own shampoos. I make my own face wash and stuff. But you could there's different things that you could do to help make it more of like a sacred act of showering and bathing. And it doesn't have to be this crazy, Instagram worthy bath or Instagram worthy shower or whatever. It's whatever feels good for you and supportive for you and your body, right? Because we're looking at like how can we give love back to ourselves. I also wanted to share about movement. Ding ding. And I say that because I feel like, going back to like how, for some, when we get on like the spiritual journey, I know that I've definitely had times in my life where I will like stay so focused on the spiritual part or the meditation piece and just all the work, all the heady stuff, all the soul stuff that there have been times that I've neglected my physical body as far as not moving like I should. And so just a reminder to do those gentle movements, those things that help support our bodies. It's not only moving energy, it's help lubricating our joints, things that get our blood pumping, and gentle movements. It doesn't have to be like, huge thing where you're like, oh, I'm going to, head back to the gym and weight lift. Like, yeah, that's great if you're going to do it, but it doesn't have to be like that. It could be gentle things, just some movement. And I'm going to mention yoga because, and not because I'm a yoga teacher or yoga instructor, but because of the fact that I have found it to be so beneficial for that gentle movement that we need that really nourishes our body. And it also nourishes our mind. It helps quiet our mind. There really is something to it, guys. So if you guys aren't, into doing yoga, like I really encourage you to just try maybe again and just see. But there's different forms of yoga too. So if you're not familiar with yoga, understanding that the asana practice, the movement portion, the postures, there are many, 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 many forms. So not all yoga classes are created equal. Not all instructors are created equal. So if they say all levels or they say, whatever, hatha, they still might have different teaching styles where it doesn't seem to be, universal for how that shows up. So with that, there are hatha yoga classes. Those are wonderful. Those are where you're holding your breath for, 4 to 5 breaths per pose, per posture. Ashtanga is beautiful. Bikram is great. There's also like, just your flow classes. And then if you're wanting like a more fast-paced yoga, and excuse me if I mispronounce this because I've only taken one class. I wasn't trained in this particular yoga style, but there's something that's almost like dance style. It's called it's BUTI. So I believe it's pronounced booty yoga. But this particular style is very fast. It's a lot of like flowy movements and everything. So there is that. There's also Kundalini. Kundalini is amazing. If you've never taken Kundalini, check it out. Kundalini is going to be more focused on breath too. So a lot of the class you're doing these different repetitive movements for, let's say 20 cycles or for, 3 minutes or whatever. But you're doing it along with your inhales and exhales. So it's very breath focused. Then you have kind of your lighter styles of yoga, and I'm saying lighter, like think slow, long holds. So yin and restorative, which is not going to be, if you're looking for gentle movement to get the body moving, I'd probably do the other yoga styles first because yin yoga is going to be better for somebody that already has an active practice, whether they're already doing like cycling or weightlifting or running or, whatever it is. But the reason I say that is because it's a lot of passive stretches, like passive positions that you're in for 3 to 10 minutes. The restorative class is beautiful. That's amazing. But that is like what I call sleepy time yoga because those poses you're holding for 10 to 20 minutes and you're in this really, relaxed state. You might be in a heart opener, but you're not doing movement during that time. You're holding the pose for a long time. In fact, restorative is great for if you're looking to have energy work, doing energy work while you do restorative type thing, while you're on the receiving end, is what I'm saying. So if you do distant yoga or distant Reiki with somebody, you could always do restorative poses while you're in the receiving mode. Um, so let's talk about sleep and not just, I don't want to focus on like how much time of sleep because everybody knows sleep is important, right? But also looking at this as a sacred act. Your bed that you climb into, making sure that that's prepared in a way that's very sacred to you. Maybe that looks like making your bed every day. This could also look like having particular, bedding on it that feels inviting to you. Whatever is going to help make it feel like a sacred space for you. Your bed being almost like your altar, okay? This is where you could really like get into having certain things around your bed too. Maybe you have a candle next to your bed on your nightstand, or maybe you have your special, journal to write in, or, whatever. But then also when you are getting in your bed at night, ensuring that you're giving yourself the time so that you're not exposing yourself to a bunch of blue lights. So that means like if you're somebody that likes to read books on your Kindle or your iPad, I would try to do maybe like an hour before bed or 2 hours before bed of reading and not like up until the point of reading because like the blue light's like really bad for you. It messes up like our circadian clock, our sleepy clock. So just ensuring that you're doing your best to try to, make it a sacred act, eliminating some of that blue light, the TV, the mobile phones, the iPad, the Kindles. The other thing I want to mention too is we all know to wash our bedding. But, you know, bedding is just like our clothing. If you're going to a thrift shop and you're buying clothes from, a thrift shop that somebody else has worn, you want to really be sure to cleanse it and to like cleanse it, like smoke cleanse or whatever and all that. But then also like wash it, right? So the bedding would be the same way. It holds energy. So taking the time to really do like regular cleanses on your bed area and around your bed, under your bed, that whole thing, clearing out the dust and anything that's like stagnant energy around under. Also, the other thing to mention here around kind of energy and self-care with the bedding is, and yeah, I'm just going to share it and say it, guys. But I I'm trying to make changes in my own home with the clothing slowly, but especially with the bedding. But because how much time you spend in your bed, think about what the material is made of that you're laying against, that you're putting your body against. Because there are fabrics that hold energy as well, right? So when we're talking about these synthetics, it's like a zero. But when we talk about like, 100% cotton, or if we're talking about linen, linen is amazing. If we're talking about like any of these fabrics that are pure fabrics, these have a frequency with them that they hold. And we can slowly change out our bedding so that it in a place where we're spending so much time, even if you're only sleeping 6 hours a night, 7 hours a night, whatever, like it's still a lot of time that you're spending against that material. And you can make these little tweaks to help be supportive to you. And so, if you are looking to get like 100% cotton sheets, you could find those out there. You'd be surprised how difficult it actually is, though. But you could look for like the GOTS rating and stuff, and find some out there. The other thing is, when you go to bed, ensuring that you're giving yourself the time to have the lights off. So, maybe closing the blinds or the curtains, turning the lights off. If you're someone that usually sleeps with like a hall light on, or, a night light, if you have kiddos that sleep with you, or, whatever it is. But trying to, or maybe you use the eye mask, but trying to find ways to really block out the light to allow your clock to kind of reset and know that it's like time for that natural sleep cycle. The other part of the physical piece here is just ensuring that we're staying hydrated, listening to our bodies, drinking water before we get thirsty, and drinking water and reaching for the water instead of reaching for coffee, or, a sparkling drink, or, whatever. And asking our bodies during this time. So the journal prompt being, what would help support your body and help you feel supported and not pushed through stuff. So I mentioned some gentle movements. I mentioned, ways to make your bedtime routine kind of sacred for you. The shower and bathing, the physical cleansing piece, but also the internal cleansing piece. But again, like this is going to be whatever feels like it supports you and doesn't feel like a pushed thing, right? We want it to be something that's a helpful for you and your energy, and helpful for you moving throughout, and not another thing, a task to add. Sustainable routines, things that you could stick to, not radical resets, right? On the mental level, this year one really brings new ideas, right? We talked about that. It's like a reset almost, right? Newness, opportunities, new thoughts. So ensuring that we're supporting our mind by eliminating information overload. Give yourself time to absorb information. If you're someone who loves taking classes and learning, but you were jumping from one thing to the next and not allowing yourself the time to absorb or utilize what you're being taught and taken in, this isn't going to be helpful. But then also, even with books or anything, not filling every second with noise, not filling every minute with something for your brain to take in, giving yourself that silence, giving yourself that time to really like, just have the quiet, just have the time around you, just have the silence. Creating morning or evening boundaries, mental boundaries for yourself. And I'm going to give an example here. So maybe this means like for morning time, if you're someone that works remotely, and if you're used to climbing out of bed in your pajamas and kind of tumbling out of bed and going down and turning on your work computer and then starting your day, instead, maybe taking the time to give yourself the first 20 minutes of your day, or first 15 minutes, whatever it is that you could commit to, but giving yourself some time to just sip your tea. Or if you're, drinking whatever beverage in the mornings, like, just sipping it, taking the time in silence, taking the time quiet, taking the time without the TV on, without the music, without the, podcast, without the, whatever, but just taking the quiet time first and just allowing yourself the space, the spaciousness. Journaling to help clear mental clutter. Now, this one, when I was writing this episode and I was kind of jotting down all these ideas, I wanted to share on this because I have a girlfriend that gave me this idea. It's something that she does, and I've done it once, and it was actually really helpful to having returned to it. But I do plan on kind of working it into part of my routine. But what she does is she calls it a brain dump, and she takes a journal and she will write down anything and everything that's on her mind that's worrisome, that's bothering her. And she just dumps it all down on that paper. And then what she does is she then doesn't worry about it. It's like leaving it, it's like a release, like leaving it there on the pages until you come back to that journal time again. And so I say that because this could be great for clearing your mind if you are someone that has an active mind at bedtime. If you're someone that's like laying in bed thinking about all the things the next day that you have to do, this could be a great practice for, jotting down on paper all those things that you're worried about and then release. Allow it to just like stay there and not worry about it until that next day. And then the last one that I want to share is practicing positive self talk. Be kind to your mind and be kind to yourself. And I say this because I think we could be so hard on ourselves. And, whatever it is, like whatever you're working towards, you're doing a great job. Just allow yourself to know that you're doing your best when you move through things. If you have hiccups, if you have oopsies, okay, great, move on. Like, don't stay stuck in that downward spiral of, oh man, I screwed up. Oh crap. Like just really give yourself the grace and really just allow yourself to move through things as you're feeling like you need to move through things. If you set out goals, if you are feeling, I'm going to use somebody else as an example now. If you set out goals and you have something that's, let's say a 10-day process of something where each day you're supposed to do something, and then, a couple days you like missed it because you either, one day you forgot, the other day you didn't get home until late and you kind of got off track with it. And it was supposed to be this like consistent thing. Don't beat yourself up over it. Like just you return to it and it's like, okay, this is the way it is. This is how it is. I personally, okay, now I'm going to use myself as an example again. So I personally am really working on this too because I have always been a very scheduled person, regiment person, and my schedule is very different now from how it used to be. I'm very busy, and that's great, but there are certain things that I can't really get the time in for as I used to be able to. So, certain things that I'm setting in place for the new year to kind of set my new year in, as far as the energy that I'm inviting in for the new year, things that I am working on. I'm giving myself the grace knowing that I can't do it all in one cycle like I have been able to do in the past. I'm allowing myself the grace of knowing it's okay. However, I show up for this is okay. And that's, it's the way it is right now. And that's great. We don't need to have all the answers to things. We don't need to put pressure on ourselves. We don't need to talk down to ourselves when we goof or when we're not, when we feel like maybe we're not doing enough. You're doing great. Just, keep going. Like you're doing great. And allow yourself, going back to the mental spaciousness, give ourselves the mental spaciousness so we could hear ourselves. So we're not filling our brain with noise, filling our spirit with noise. Like allow us to listen, connect with ourselves, connect with spirit, our higher selves. The next one that I want to share about is the spiritual care. So spiritual care this year, we're really being asked to reconnect, right? Reconnect with ourselves as we talk about, like, I talked about early on the identity piece, right? So, coming into alignment with ourselves, reconnecting with ourselves, reconnecting with our soul, and really leading by that. Excuse me. We could support this by doing regular check-ins with ourselves and our intuition. We could begin learning to trust ourselves and our hits that we get. And when I say hits, I'm talking about like intuitive hits. A great way to track this is by journaling this. And why do I suggest tracking this? Well, because a lot of times we forget stuff and we might not notice or see the patterns and things and how things show up for us unless we write it down or unless we have some way of tracking it. And so it can be very beneficial to, write down things like if we have a feeling, whatever it is. But let's just say, like, you're like, oh, I knew so and so was going to call. That's awesome. Well, great. Like, write that down that, like, you had, it came through. You had them pop in your head. You saw them, or you had their name pop up and, like, write that down. And then they called you. Like, that counts as a hit. Like, know how it shows up and that way you could get used to how you are perceiving those little messages that are coming through, whether they're coming through in a visual sense like clairvoyance, whether coming through as like a knowing, these different things. And then also that'll help you in turn to through time with trusting yourself, trusting to lean into that when your intuition shows up. The other thing is calling for help from your support guides and your angels when you need it. And I am including this because I think that this is another one that people might not necessarily think about, but like, being able to call out for help and ask for help. They're not going to step in unless we ask for help, right? Like we could ask for help when we need it, but also leaving this space, going back to the space part, so that we could be able to observe and hear and see or feel or whatever when they come through with these messages, because they will show up in different ways for us. Again, don't fill your time with the noise. And then spiritual self-care, also including here spiritual simple rituals that we could do that will support you in your practice. Okay, so I have a couple here that I was thinking about. And one that I want to mention here is kind of tying into that sleep routine as well, but I put it under spiritual care. So, yoga nidra, if you've never heard of it, is amazing. If you're somebody that has a difficult time sleeping and you're doing that brain dump thing and the journaling thing, or maybe it's not because you have all these thoughts in your head, but you're just, you have a hard time winding down or something. I don't know. But Yoga Nidra is amazing. There's various meditation apps. You can look it up, but that'll really help you kind of get into that relaxation state and be ready for that sleep time for bedtime. There's also, things like I mentioned, simple rituals. This could show up as like you praying if that's what you do, if you pray, having regular prayer time, reading a daily devotional, reading, anything that's inspiring to you, spending 5 minutes a day in meditation, 2 minutes a day, 1 minute, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. Like whatever it is for you that's supportive, that helps you get reconnected with your higher self, with your spirit, with your guides, with your angels, with source, God, universe, divine, however you want to fill it in, whatever is good for you there, whatever is higher, higher than yourself. The other piece of this is, looking at how it nurtures your soul, right? How it nurtures your spirit. Spending time in the silence, like I mentioned, connecting with Mother Nature. When we spend time outside and with Mother Earth, like this is something that could be very healing for us. And it could also help us reconnect with ourselves. Not to mention, it's very grounding. So that's yet another thing that could be very supportive. And then trusting that subtle guidance, be open to the signs and the synchronicities that show up. And your practice doesn't have to be an elaborate one, just something that it could be consistent for you and something that is yours that feeds your soul. The last self care piece that I want to share about is the energetic care. And we talked a little bit about energy and kind of setting those boundaries at the beginning of this episode, right? But there's other ways protecting our energy that we could do, and that's through strengthening those boundaries that we talked about. But then also just with that around the boundaries, ensuring that you spend that you leave time for your own restore process, right? For you to like have that recoup time, whatever time you need to kind of refreshen, whether it's sleep time, whether it's rest time, time for you to move, time for you to get out in nature, time for you to meditate, whatever, making sure that you have that time for you. The other thing is clearing others' expectations from your field. And then, as well as doing like any cord cutting. This is going to be really beneficial. Regular grounding practices. I talked about getting out in nature, connecting with the earth. If you can't go outside because of the weather, because of where you're living, you could close your eyes, do a grounding routine here, a grounding meditation. Excuse me. You could also, and by the way, the grounding meditation, I believe I did one. Nope, I didn't. Never mind. I did an auric field boundary one. It's still helpful, but I did one on like the end of episode 1 for conscious consumption. But there's also, besides the meditations for grounding, besides going outside connecting with the earth for grounding, there's grounding mats. There's certain crystals that you could do, which I did talk about crystals that are grounding too in episode 1. So there's various things that we could do to support our systems to help us ground. Oh, got a tickle in my throat. Excuse me. Um, the other part of the self-care routine, as part of your reset to support your physical, mental, and energy body, could be to receive energy healing. Energy healing is amazing. And I really love Reiki in particular. Reiki has so many benefits. I mean, I could do a huge long list of all the amazing things and why it can help support you. But it really helps with our nervous system, helps with resetting our nervous system. Oh, excuse me. Our energy field helps with reducing stress. It could help with sleep. It could help with pain relief. It could help with supporting, emotional balance, connecting with our inner guidance, and just helping us with the flow of our energy too, helping clear blockages and such. And again, just going back to the giving ourselves time to restore, choosing rest when our body needs it, when our body's asking for it. We're not meant to carry everything, guys. And I know that so many of us, especially if you're a parent, you're probably used to just carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders with all the to-dos and all the house stuff and all the kids stuff and all that, you know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on. But just, really directing your energy wisely, taking care of yourself during this time. So those are a few of the self-care ideas, some of the self-care tips and things that I want to share. I now want to share. So I want to talk about planners a little bit. And I had mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, when I talk about planners, I'm not talking about your regular day planner. We're going to get into a few different style planners and how they could be fun and helpful and useful for you. So again, just something that's supportive, that's honoring your energy. That's a tool, a supportive tool, not something that feels like a task manager. Using it as a guide, not as a set of rules where you're having to write it down. They could be great for, by the way, setting your intentions, but also like for tracking your energy, for tracking different things, how you're moving through the seasons, even for tracking monthly lunar cycles. So I want to share a little bit about some planners. I'm going to start with some astrology ones. I have three that I want to share. So, one is called Moon Phase Studio. Moon Phase Studio has a monthly astrology, moon cycle, and planetary calendar, excuse me, planner. It includes the astrology transits and it has exercises with custom journaling, tarot spreads, rituals, and custom spells that are focused around the new and full moons. It's a spiral bound planner. I think it's like around $50 or something. But that is an example of a planner that you could pick up that if you were looking for something that was astrology focused, right? And also, like I said, mentioned, tarot spreads and stuff. So you could work with it with, your tarot card pulls or even your oracle pulls if you're doing that. If you aren't, that's okay too. But it's a way to work in something that kind of helps you connect with yourself too, and it encourages that for you to track your energy around these, different cycles, around the moon cycles and planetary lineups and whatnot. Then there's one called the Magic of I. The Magic of I is another astrology planner, complete with personalized astrology birth chart fields, allowing you to track your natal chart alongside the astrology moon cycles and planetary lineups. By the way, these three all would pair very nicely with Astrology with Erin's monthly forecast. So listen to Astrology with Erin and her monthly forecast that she does once a month. And then you could dive in even deeper along with your planner and then this. And it really could be very beneficial to like track and help you see different threads of how your energy is affected during certain times, how things are showing up for you in your life, all these things to kind of explore and look at. And that one is a hardback planner, just to kind of give you an idea. This next one is the one that I picked up for this year, and it's called Dreamy Moons. It's out of Australia. And this weekly planner starts off by asking you to reflect on 2025. So it asks you to reflect on the previous year. There's a bunch of prompts for journaling around that, looking at, biggest lessons, how things showed up for you, your growth experiences, and then what you want to look at for new goals. And it provides ideas on how to set intentions and create your own vision board and planner, which I've never seen before. I thought that was actually really cool. It also has monthly moon cycles and energy of each of the months, accompanied by affirmations and journaling prompts. And every day has a note on how are you feeling, so you could kind of track your emotions, which I think is really great to look at again with the lunar cycles, these different things to see kind of how you're feeling during certain times. Maybe even tracking how your energy is around certain people. And then looking at the focus of gratitude. So there's a little section at the bottom of the day where it asks you to, focus on gratitude and something you could write down regarding that. Out of all the planners, to me, this was also the most visually, aesthetically pleasing. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous planner. It's a hardback bound fabric covered with gold embossing and gold gilded edges. And it comes in like a black fabric. There's a maroon fabric. And then there's like this kind of dusty pink fabric. It's a really beautiful one. Now for tarot focused planners. So, tarot focused planners, I have one that I want to share and mention. It's a ritual planner. I've actually had this planner in the past as well. And I personally loved this planner. The only reason why I didn't get it is I was looking for something a little bit different this year, but then also ritual planner, this particular one is like a very large planner. It's like an 8 by 11 size, and it's spiral bound, which is nice. I like the spiral bound. And like I said, I've used it in the previous years. I actually had it like 2 years back to back. It's a tarot focus planner with all the astrology goodies too. So it has all those same pages where it has like references for lunar and astrological information. It has an area where you put your natal chart. It has, an area where you could do like a 12-month tarot spread, which I will be sharing a little bit more about in a few minutes. New and full moon area, for your placements, as well as for each of the days, it has like these cute little squares where you like pull your tarot card and then you write down what your tarot card was. Or if you have the tarot stickers, you could put the tarot stickers in there, and those are really cute and cool. And if you've never seen them, you could pick them up on Amazon. You could always pick them up from Ritual Planner as well. They also provide or sell the little cute tarot stickers. And then there's also for the week ahead, it also has not just the daily card pull fields, but then for the end of the week, it has the area where you would include like your three card pull or whatever. So really fun. There's digital options too. So if you're someone that you don't need the hard, cover, or not the hard cover, but you don't need the physical planner, they have a digital option. So there are two planners I want to share. There are a little more of the witchy planners. One is by Seasons of the Witch, not by Lorraine Anderson. It's the Seasons of the Witch planner. If you are a collector of oracle cards or even tarot, because they just came out with the tarot deck, there is for the Wheel of the Year, there are the Seasons of the Witch Oracle cards, and then now they have the Seasons of the Witch Tarot, and now there's the Seasons of the Witch Planner. The planner includes fields for your daily card pulls. It includes self-care challenges and encourages monthly goal setting, as well as various card spreads to support the energy of that month. It's a really cute planner. It's a smaller one. I think it's only about 5 by 7. But it's really cute. I was looking at the flip through for it and it was priced really reasonable as well. And I only know of Amazon that you could pick it up. I don't know if you could like pick it up through like Lorraine Anderson's website or anything too. But anyways, so that's one option. The other one is Witch's Diary Planner, which I have also had in the past. This one was really fun. It included the moon cycles and energy for the Wheel of the Year. And then, like, I'm trying to remember because it's been a while. It's been quite a few years since I've had it. But I believe it also has, I know for sure every month, but it might even be like halfway through the month as well. But there's like pages where there's like spells that are included with the energy of that month, but then also just like around that time of year for the Wheel of the Year. So that was a really fun one. And it was really inexpensive too. It was like a $15 planner and it was like a little 4 by 7 type thing. So again, just looking for something that could be a supportive tool for you, something that's not a task manager, something that you don't cringe every time you open it and you actually get excited about using it. We discussed a lot of different ideas today for things that could support you, things that will, provide you with the self-care for all layers of your body. I want to end on one other thing, and that is a look ahead for the year. Now, if you are not familiar, because I mentioned with one of the planners how there's the page for the 12-month tarot spread. And boom. Now, there is a look ahead for the 12-month tarot spread in that one planner. This is something you can do on your own. I had to take a sip of water, excuse me. But if you are not interested in doing your own tarot spread or your own card spread, maybe you're not familiar with doing card readings, I do offer them. You could always go to my website. You could always reach out to me. But if you do it, you have your 12-month intuitive card reading that is really great for offering a bird's eye view for the look ahead for the year. It can offer energetic themes. You can look at areas of growth. You can look at times when it might be time to kind of rest versus like expansion periods. It could provide support and supportive guidance for, decision making around certain things. So helping you plan with compassion and move with trust and stay aligned with certain things as the movement of the year happens. The other thing with this too, I mentioned the 12 month. This would be based off of the 12 months of the calendar year, right? But another option that you could do instead of the 12-month is you could do the 8-month, oh my goodness, 8 card pull around the wheel of the year. So if you want to move more along like the seasons type thing and with nature, you could do card pulls according to that. And that could be really helpful and beneficial, of course, as well. It's just a different system, is all, a different way of doing things. I did pull 2 cards prior to doing this episode, prior to recording, hitting record when I was upstairs putting my little one to bed. And I wanted to share because I thought it was really funny. I set the intention of pulling cards, 2 cards from 2 different decks for this episode for those that are going to listen to the podcast, and something that would be helpful to hear. The 2 cards I pulled tied into what I discussed. So I thought it was so perfect. So the first one is clear vision. It says, get clear, crystal clarity, discerning perspective, higher understanding. And the numbers 2020. So clear vision, we talked about this, being clear on what it is that you're wanting to invite in, being clear on how you're wanting to show up in the world, being clear on what it is that your soul is pulling you towards, what it is that maybe has been laying dormant, that's ready to awaken, that's ready to come out into the light. So, really listening and tuning into yourself, having that discernment piece too with those that you're around and those that you're spending time with, and really just allowing your own inner light to shine through. The other card I have is I speak to myself the way I would speak to someone I love. And isn't that perfect? Because I talked about the self-talk piece, right? I talked about how we talk to ourselves, not coming down on ourselves, not getting down on ourselves when we oopsies, as I like to say, when we goof, or when, there's something that maybe we didn't do in our own timeline. That could be something too. Giving ourselves the grace when we need the grace, being loving to ourselves, talking to ourselves as we would those that we care about. So I love that these 2 cards were the ones that came up. I do hope that you enjoyed this episode, found it helpful. I look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to hear from you guys. So if you want to comment down below, if you want to shoot an email over, or if you want to hit me up on Instagram, I'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, thank you guys. I hope you have a beautiful January, a beautiful start of the year. And thank you.